I'm not trying to give your boss the hall pass to abuse people, but the term balance could be problematic.
If you don't believe in what your boss is doing, you can't follow that vision, you need to fire your boss. It's a brand new week here on the Lead Everyday Show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And Mark, it's not only a brand new week, it's a brand new month. It's hard to believe we're rocking into June here. Years flying by.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
We're trying to make some progress here. Got the year going pretty full steam now, almost to halftime. So I don't know if you got any adjustments you need to make as we're nearing the halftime break. I'm thinking about a few myself that I need to make. I'm guessing our listeners probably have some areas that they can. Maybe one of those areas is the area that we've been talking about really the last couple of weeks. Winning Begins at Home. We got a new book coming out Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. It will be launch day,
which is my birthday.
It's on, we're launching on your birthday.
Launching on my birthday.
I won't be here for your birthday.
That.
I think I'm doing an event somewhere out west, but
I'm not sure I'll be here for my birthday.
You'd probably be off playing somewhere. It'll be good. But so we've had a few days to talk about the book and shared some fundamentals, a little bit of insight into it. I hope people will get this book and share with their friends and family members really that they're trying to help, trying to encourage. I think the book's going to help a lot of leaders who are getting it right at work. A lot of people seem to be getting it right at work, but outside of work, some of the things that really matter a lot to them don't really have a way to think about that. And so we wrote this book to try to help them. It's a fun parable about a business leader who he's like us. He's got it going well at work, but at home not so good. I say like us, like I'm talking to the global audience here who may listen and go, I need some help out there. So this guy's that way. And so the parable is there, but there's also, I think 70-page activation guide in the back that will help people create that blueprint to build the life that they want, which will be fun. So that's the book there. If you haven't gotten your copy yet, I hope you'll pre-order it. You got just a few days to pre-order, then you can get it. It's going live. It'll be sent out June the 11th, I think. So excited about that going out. But we've got some questions that people have been submitting, been asking for a while, been gathering these questions. And I want us to spend some days here talking about these questions that people are asking. And I think it'll be helpful. So the first question is, how can a leader maintain a work-life balance when my boss is not supportive of my life outside of work? What a great question. It's like it becomes really hard to get this right. It is real if my boss is not on board with us having a life outside of work. And we're going to dive into that today a little bit. So I don't know if you got a thought there to kick us off with it. But
probably several. Let's start with something that you mentioned 2 episodes back, I think. Now, I don't want to dismiss the question. We're going to deal with the question. But the term balance could be problematic. If you're thinking about work-life balance as some utopian lifestyle where you invest the same number of hours at home as you do at work, let's take the sleeping hours out.
Right.
That's going to be challenging mathematically, right? So let's be sure you're pursuing the right thing. Now, I think the spirit of the question is you want to have a life that honors your employer and honors those outside of work, whether it be your family or your peers or friends or whoever. And I think we can talk about that, but let's take that word balance and be sure we're thinking about it correctly.
Yeah, I would say, reiterate what you just said and what I said the other day, is there is no real balance. I mean, it's not equal.
Because there are a whole lot more than 2 things you're trying to balance.
That's exactly
You start
right.
throwing in your relationships with your non-family members, and start throwing in your physical fitness and other things that you have to pay attention to. You can't balance all of that.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. The spirit of the question is, what happens when your boss, whoever the boss is, starts to violate the boundaries of outside of work and begins to infringe on that. So what do you do in that case?
All right, I think I know what you're going to say, so I'm going to go first before you.
It's probably
share
good.
Well, I mean, I agree with what you're going to say. I think I know what you're going to say here, but I would encourage you to think about seasons.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not trying to give your boss or you as the boss the hall pass to abuse people. I'm not doing that at all. But there are seasons when you will need to over-invest in your workplace. You even mentioned the term boundaries. I think it's the wrong attitude to say I'm only going to work X hours a week and that's it, because the demands of the job will more than likely have seasons when that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same token, I think you're going to have times in your life when you need to over-invest in your family, and there'll be seasons for that. As something as tactically as you'll need to leave work early to go to a ballet recital or a t-ball game. Well, okay, but there are other seasons when you're going to work more hours. So I think seasons is a helpful concept, and I would also ask you to elongate those. Don't think about a season as a week or a month. Maybe think about, for the next 6 months, I know what's happening at work, or the next 6 months, I know what's happening at home, and elongate your perspective, and I think that'll help.
Yeah,
Those rigid lines are always going to get you in trouble.
That's great. I would say I'll take a little bit of a different road or different side of this road here, and I would say we need to pull back at times and really evaluate our seasons. Have our seasons become patterns? Our seasons becoming patterns, and because if we're not careful, we will always justify, well, this is just a season. This is busy. This is busy. This is busy. And I think the spirit of the question again is, if the boss doesn't support at all, there's
But you can never go to a T-ball game.
You're not going to go to a ballet recital.
Or never going to go to a
without
ballet.
being shamed or whatever.
Yeah, then that's
so,
different.
And I think that is different. And what I would say at that point is, I get to actually choose my boss. And so I thought that's where you were going to go. Yeah, and I would.
So say more about choosing your boss. And somebody goes, what does that mean?
I heard somebody say this years ago. I thought this was really great. It was actually Jimmy Collins, who was the president of Chick-fil-A back in the day, and he wrote a book a few years ago called Creative Followership. And I spoke at an event, and Jimmy was there, and he spoke as well. We were both on the program, and I got to listen to his talk. And one of the things he talked about was how he chose to work for Truett, and he's like, I could have worked for a couple of people, but he said, I'm going to go work for Truett. And he said, I thought about that, and he said, if you're in a situation where you're not he wasn't talking about this situation necessarily, but he said, if you don't believe in what your boss is doing, you can't follow that vision. He said, I love the way he said, you need to fire your boss. And everybody's like, fire my boss, and I wouldn't have a job. And he said, you get to choose to go work for another boss. And I think there's an alignment piece of this question that I need to know the values of my employer. And if they're incongruent with what I want with my family life, all I can say is you're going to get down the road, and there will be regret if you just worked all the time and you never. There's only one dad or only one mom for your kids. Or only, you're only, whatever you are in your relationship at home, that's your relationship. And so you can't delegate your presence when it comes to that ballet recital. And I'm not saying you have to be at every ballet recital, but if you can't ever go to any without feeling guilty, maybe that season has become a pattern at that point. And I'll just say there's a little bit of warning there, and that's kind of the way I've thought about it. And you have to choose where you're going to be, and I understand you got to make a living, but there's probably more than one place to make a living. I think there's only one family, so let's make sure that we don't lose perspective there when we think about that. And I don't want to simplify it. Not everybody needs to quit tomorrow if you can't go to the T-ball game, but if it's become a pattern, maybe you at least need to have a conversation with your boss and do some re-clarifying. And if you get your answer that, like, this is not going to work, then you probably do have a bigger decision to make at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
So that'd be my answer. That's a great question. I think a lot of people feel this tension, but I don't think it's going to go away if we don't address it and have the conversation with our boss maybe that we need to have. Asking us is one thing, but going and having some clarity with the person that you report to that's probably going to make a bigger difference. And don't let your seasons become patterns is what I would say. I think that's a
good word.
Good word. Yeah.
Good word.
All right. Remember, the best leaders lead every day. Join us tomorrow. We're going to continue. Got some more questions here that you've asked. These are great questions. Can't wait to dive in. We'll see you guys tomorrow.